Hey everyone, this is Chappie Feeney over here at Intense, and for today's video we're going to be going over the installation of our SRAM GX AXS kit. So this will work on any one of our SRAM equipped bikes. Alright, so let's go ahead and open our SRAM GX AXS kit. Pop the lid off, take a look at our contents here. So we got SRAM GX AXS rear derailleur, your shifter, your adapter for the handlebar and the shifter, your B screw tension tool, charge cable, battery charger, and then of course the included multi-tool. All right, so now moving back over to the bike, we're going to start removing our cable-driven derailleur system. All right, we'll go ahead and start this. Chain the smallest gear of the cassette, come down to our chain, find the master link over here on the bottom. We got all right, here, we're going to release the tension on the rear derailleur. Master link, remove. Next, we're going to remove our rear derailleur. Cut the nub off to make things easier for us. Slide the cable out. Now we're going to unbolt our rear derailleur from the rear derailleur hanger using a 5mm Allen. Next, we're going to undo our zip tie. Next, we can go ahead and remove our cable and housing. Pull our housing ends off. Come back up to the bar. This will be our lower cable here on this bike. Just go ahead and start pulling this from the front. Next, we're going to come up to the handlebar using a 4mm Allen. We're going to remove our shifter bolt. We'll reuse the same bracket up here on the bar for our new shifter. All right, so with shifter in hand, let's go ahead and take note of our setup button here. We'll be utilizing this here in a moment. All right, so back up at the bar, we're going to be utilizing the same shifter mount. 4mm, line our bolt up, shifter. Position in your desired location. And torque to 3 to 4 Newton meters. All right, so now we have our rear derailleur in hand. We're going to flip it over and take note of our B plate and our B screw. So when we go to install onto the rear derailleur hanger, we want to make sure these two items are contacting each other. So with our B plate and B screw contacting each other, we can go ahead and begin our rear derailleur installation. So as a reference, it's a good idea to start our installation with the derailleur kind of in a vertical position. This will make sure the B plate is behind the derailleur hanger tab. And then once you get the thread started, you can roll this back down and then continuing to snug this down into position. This will be torqued at 8 to 10 Newton meters. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and install our chain. So first up, we're going to push our lower cage of our derailleur down, lock it into position, and this will give us the slack we need to get the chain hooked up. Making sure we have enough slack on the chain to wrap around and line up underneath the chainstay here. Come around to the back, lining up the chain on the smallest gear of the cassette. Run this through. And then from this point, it's important to note that we want the chain to go in front of the small pulley wheel on the top and behind the back plate gusset. So you should be able to do this at this point. Then from there, feed the chain into the lower pulley wheel and roll that forward. So you'll note that the lower pulley wheel does have a narrow, wide pattern, just like the front sprocket. So make sure that's lined up properly. So next, we'll connect the chain. We're going to take our power links. We're going to line the pin of the link up with the opening in the chain, making sure that the straight edge is to the outside of the chain and the curved edge is to the inside of the chain. It's important to note this because these links are directional. So get that started. And from this point, we'll just take our chain link tool, line it up, and slide it into place. So from here, we can release the tension on our rear derailleur by simply pushing it forward. Once it unclicks, just gently put the lower cage back. So from this point, you can see we need to make a couple adjustments to accommodate the brand new derailleur. So let's go through those steps now. So first part of this is we're going to actually get our battery installed. So we're going to pull the cover off by pulling on the top and rolling it back, and then disengaging the battery block here. This is basically just a block. Keep this for safekeeping or for traveling. It'll be handy then. So with our battery as well, it does have a protective cover. So I'll pop this off. Also keep this, so if you're traveling or need to put it in your gear bag, that protects the contact points. From this point, we're going to take the bottom tab of our battery here. We're going to line it up with the opening on the derailleur and just roll the battery into position. Pop this lever down. Once that's flush and clicks, that's installed properly. From there, we'll reinstall our battery cover. This pops on. All right, so with the battery installed, we can move on to pairing the system. So we'll start this by pushing and holding our pairing button down here on the rear derailleur.
Okay, hold.
You'll see the light come on up here. Once it's flashing, the derailleur is now in pairing mode. We're going to come up to the shifter. We're going to push and hold our pairing button.
Okay, hold.
You'll see the light start to quickly flash. So with the system paired, we're going to go ahead and get the rear derailleur out of pairing mode by just simply pushing the button. Once that light turns off, now we can go ahead and shift. All right, so with our system paired and everything operational, we're going to begin the final setup process. So for the very beginning of this, we want to at least get this slack out of here. So we're going to utilize the B screw here temporarily to get this out. This will allow us to set our high and low level limit screws accurately. So now as we continue through the setup process, we're going to use these two screws here. So we have on the outside, this is our high level limit adjustment screw. It adjusts the derailleur on how far it can go over on the big ring. And then you have your low level limit over here. This adjusts how far the chain can come over off of the small ring of the cassette. So as we're in the small ring of the cassette, we're going to start by winding this in to the point where the screw is going to contact the flat surface of the rear derailleur. And this is just going to give us a starting point. Bear in mind, this is a brand new derailleur and has not had any setup at all. So just when you start to feel it to contact, we're going to stop there and we're going to go ahead and spin the drivetrain and listen to what our chain and cassette are doing. So what we're looking for is no clicks. And as you can see here, we do have some clicks. This is just basically meaning the chain is not properly aligned. So we're going to use that same low level screw and we'll see where we're at. So we're going to go a half a turn tighter. We see the clicks are actually getting worse. So we're going to go in reverse. We're going to back it off half a turn, back off another half, back off one more half. And that's much better. We'll go a quarter turn. And it sounds pretty good. All right, so now with the low level limit screw adjusted, at least for our base adjustment, we can go ahead and see what the tune of the derailleur is doing through the rest of the cassette. Then we'll work our way up to the high level limit adjustment. Now we can just use our shifter to go through the gears one at a time. Again, listen for any clicks as we go through here. Chain misalignment on the cassette. You can see as we're going through this, we are going to need to make adjustments to our B tension, which is great because we're going to get ourselves into the right gear to do so here in a moment. So now let's take a look at our high level limit screw. So again, as you can see, our high level limit screw here, we want to make contact with that screw on the flat surface of the derailleur here. Again, brand new derailleur, so we got to go through the initial setup. So just as it barely touches, we'll go right there. And then we're going to, again, listen for any audible clicks as we spin the drivetrain. And then also what we're going to do is go back down to gear 2 and then back up to gear 1, making sure that the chain is not jumping over the big ring of the cassette into your wheel, which is definitely not something that you want to do, or is still allowing it to go from second gear up to first. All right, so next is we're going to dial in our B tension adjustment. So we're actually going to utilize the tool that SRAM provides inside the box and with the chain in second gear on the cassette. We'll get ourselves there. Go ahead, stop. We're going to grab our handy dandy SRAM tool here. We're going to slide it over the big ring of the cassette, slide it on down, and what we're looking for is the top bolt of the upper pulley wheel to line up with the center of this opening here. You can kind of see the arrow. Obviously pretty far off here, so let's make some adjustments to dial it in. This will be done with our B tension screw up here at 1.5 turns because we're pretty far off. We'll check again. See, we're much closer, so we're going to go in a 1/4 turn increment here. Roll this back down, and we are right on the money right there. All right, so now that we have our high level set and our B tension set, let's go ahead and run through the gears one more time. Again, listening for any audible clicks. And then if we need to make any adjustments with our derailleur alignment, we'll do so. So let's go through right now. First, you can see there it's not wanting to shift. So right away we know we want to make a adjustment here. So we're going to come up to our shifter. All right, so knowing that we need to help the chain drop down, we're going to effectively be aligning the chain further to the outside of the bike. So we're going to push and hold our button and act as if we were shifting down. Here are a couple little micro adjustments with 3 there, and then go ahead and recheck. And there we go, we got some downshift there. So let's continue on through the process. Still hesitating there, so we're going to make one more small micro adjustment. Again, push and hold. From there, act as if we're shifting down a little bit. Let me check. Much better. Now I can see we went maybe a couple clicks too much of micro adjust, so we're going to actually micro adjust back the other way. So we're going to push and hold the same button and act as if we were shifting up. Release the button and we'll retest. Still shifts down great, and our up shifts are quicker. And go up to the top, make sure, yep, top is shifting great. So that tells us that everything is 100% ready to rip. All right, so now that we have everything installed, let's go ahead and go over some of the features and benefits essentially of the GX AXS group set. So earlier we installed the battery. It does come with a small charge on it, but we definitely recommend after you get the bike set up to go ahead and throw the battery on the charger before you go out and ride to make sure your system is functional throughout the entire ride. One thing to note with that as well is it is motion activated. So if you are traveling, take that battery off, it'll conserve the battery, and then when you get to your spot that you're going to be riding, you can go ahead and reinstall that battery. It will not lose its memory, so it will maintain pairing mode, so you don't have to worry about that. And then from there, there's also the SRAM AXS app that gives you some additional setup features, something as simple as just shifting the direction of your shifts. If you want the paddle to go up or down, you can reverse that to your liking. All right, so there you have it. We have successfully completed our wireless shifting install. If you have any questions on that process or need any assistance along the way, don't hesitate to reach out. The customer service team will be more than happy to help in any way. Thanks for choosing Intense.